to all viewers, and hello again. I am Fatu Amira Mambure, the chairwoman of the Fatu Network 2019 Heroes Awards. To my left, I have Ms. Nene Cham. She is our vice chair, and Mr. Pastor Forbes. So we just wanted to give you a bit of information and a bit of an update on the processes that we've been going through and what we've been doing, and also give you some results. Just to begin with, to breeze through, we had a total of 1,527 nominations. The diaspora was responsible for 51.8% of those nominations, and the Gambia 48.2% of them. And going into the categories, from the greatest to the least, we had exemplary youth with 26.2% of the nominations, 400 nominations that myself and my colleagues read through. We have the Philanthropist of the Year, which was 14.4% of the nominations, 219. Man of the Year, 195 nominations. The Green Award, 181 nominations. Woman of the Year, 154 nominations. Agricultural Leader, 108. Education Prize for Excellence, 85. Health Servant of the Year, 70. Diaspora Engagement, 62, Iconic Gambian, which is our posthumous award, 45, and our Trailblazer Award, 7. So myself and my colleagues on Tuesday went through each and every one of your nominations, read through, and narrowed it down, as previously stated, to a maximum of 4 candidates in each category, of which for the posthumous award, it was actually only 3. So we'd like to give you all the opportunity to ask any questions you would like for us.
I'm Lamin Kante from iAfrica TV.
Hi, Lamin.
One may assume that in certain categories, many have been selected. What criteria have you guys used in order to come with certain number of people that you believe should qualify and compete for that particular category?
Yeah, if I may, Chair.
Yes, you may.
There was
Be my guest.
a list of criteria put out, which was specific for each category. Fortunately, a lot of people answered according to the category's requirements. Unfortunately, some people double nominated instead of nominating once. Some people also happened not to have read exactly what was required. But because we have to be fair to everybody, we just had to go by the criteria which was pre-announced, written, and I'm sure Fatu Network had it on their page. And it was a painstaking exercise. I think we left the place we were meeting almost 11 p.m. On Independence Day anniversary to go through more than 1,500 nominations. And we feel very confident that we've done justice. Not only were you supposed to nominate somebody, you were also supposed to justify for that particular category why you nominated the person, what they have done, because we're looking for heroes for this country, maybe unsung heroes. And we believe that the criteria set was right, and we've come up with almost 43, minus 1 because of the lack of the 4th posthumous person. And from that, we're almost certain we'll end up with the 11 on the final night. So there was criteria listed out, and it was looked at, it was worked out properly, and we feel it met the requirements of what we were looking for.
Yes, I just wanted to add to what Pastor's just said, that we tried to select the people that we thought, were doing so much great work in their communities, in their towns, villages even, and work that really is affecting the communities and the people in a very positive way, and it wasn't always for money. There were so many people who labor tirelessly contribute to bettering the lives of other people, and they do it all free of charge. They do it as on a voluntary basis. And so we thought, rather than just the usual big and famous people winning awards, we want to showcase the heroes that the Gambia has. There's a lot of them, and this is just a few of them. And just one thing I wanted to also point out was that we were limited. The committee was limited. We could not nominate. It was part of the rules. So that the nominations had to come from the public themselves directly. That's why you see that there was an award category in which, if we could have nominated, we would have filled in the fourth, but we couldn't. So the nominations, one must have come from the public, and then we could consider them. And it wasn't about just the number of nominations you had. It was about the fact that you were nominated, even if by one person. We follow the justification, like Pastor said, from the person, because we can't know everybody. Sometimes we know them, we have an idea what they do, but sometimes we don't. So we depended on the justification attached to the nomination. And unfortunately for many, we found that they were very brief and couldn't tell us more, and we couldn't go anywhere else. There's a column on which you could also refer us to our website or publications or whatever that the person may have done. There were occasions when we could not go further with certain people, so that's how we were able to eliminate. And we can assure you that the 4 that we got and the 3 were the best among the lot that fit the category, as Pastor says, the specific category for each, specific criteria for each category. And that's how we came up with, I'm sure there are a lot of other heroes out there. If that answers, I think that answers more than answers your question.
The ones that you chosen.
Yes.
What assurance can you put to to the nominees that those ones are the best out of the rest?
Well, I've just said that. Let me just quickly, before Madam Chair goes in, I've just told you that we are. If you look at the committee, you'll see 7 independent people. I think that's why all of us were selected, and there's confidence in us that we will deliver. We'll come up with the best, that we had. And I've just told you that we follow the criteria based on who was nominated. So I'll just let Fatu come in on this as well.
Okay. Just to clarify a bit more on your question, in each separate category, there was a very strict criteria that was put in place. We had a whole category description, which even when you're nominating, you can read through the description to see what we're looking for this particular award. And then also with the criteria that comes along with it, if it fits the bill. So we gave that general information to the public, and it was seen when you heard about the awards, it was seen while you were even voting. So with that, you now nominate an individual. So once you nominate the individual, we got that information and we read through the information. So if we see that person A fits boom, 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 boom criteria that was already pre-listed, then we shortlist you to the next category. So we really had, it was very tough. We had debates about it. We went through every bit of information that we were given just to vet the process down. If that answers your question.
I think also to add, one of the things that was really good was if you found out that you knew somebody being nominated and we had discussions about it, you recused yourself from the final voting if we had to vote, irrespective of how good the nominee was. So if it was my friend or the chairperson's friend or Nene's friend, they just stayed. And we were 7 totally independent people, so
Yeah.
there was just no way for anybody to do anything. And based on our integrity, I don't think we'll even want to do that. Yeah.
I just want to add that some people may have felt that some may deserve more than others. It's not about that. Mm-hmm. It was about working with what we had. Yeah. We could not bring. If you feel somebody should have won, did you nominate them? If they weren't nominated, they were not considered by us. And these were the rules that we started with. And with these awards, you recognize people for what they do. I think we should focus more on the positive side. We are confident that the people that we have listed, certainly the people that we have shortlisted, we are confident that they deserve to be. It doesn't say they're the only people or they're the best heroes in the Gambia, but they deserve to do that, and we had rules like you do in these sort of things, and we followed them. So we're confident that the people that we have really deserve to be shortlisted in this thus far.
Yeah. And you will see it once you see their bios. I think you'll be very happy with the things that they have done as well.
So I have two questions for the committee. One thing that is out there that people are saying is that the issue of opening the awards to voting, the public through the public voting, some would say it's cheap, makes it the awards less dignified. What do you have to say to that? And also, I'm sure you must have come across the issue of conflict of interest. So as a committee, what do you do when you realize that there is conflict of interest in respect of someone who is nominated? What do you do?
Okay, in regards to the allowing the public to vote, we wanted to make this, the majority of the committee as well, wanted to make this process as democratic as possible. As Pastor Forbes previously stated, there are some people who even tried to vote twice. It wasn't about that for us. So there are two things here. One, this committee is completely independent of the FATU network. So we didn't want a situation in which there would possibly be conflict of interest, in which people would say, oh, TFN has awards and so were nominated and so won the awards without the public having any say. Then one can easily say, well, the person didn't really deserve the award because it's Fatu's friend or Pate's friend or Malik's friend or Lamin's friend, for example. So that's why we opened up the nomination process. We didn't even have a say in it. You tell us who you think is doing what, and we'll go through and look through it. And then with the voting process as well, too, we wanted it to be similar. So one, you can try, but one cannot vote twice. And we thought it fair that we vote as well as the public vote as well, too. So
yes,
can you expound on that?
Yes, I can add to that, please. With on the conflict of interest bit, I think Pastor's just answered how we handle that, whittling through down the nominees. If of course we know this is Gambia, where you're bound to know people, but somebody close to you, you stayed away from the final decision on that, and that would apply through to the final voting as well. Just on that, and also I can say that if a sponsor, for example, was nominated, of course, deserving as they were, we could not be listed as part of the nominees just to avoid the sort of conflict that we've just mentioned there. So, and then also, I don't think it makes it cheap, because we wanted a recipe that would just not be us alone. Who are we to just decide for the whole of Gambia who's the best? Yeah. Who are the heroes? So we wanted to also involve the public to an extent. That's why in the final voting, in considering the winner for each category, we have given the public 40% and we retain the 60%. Not because we're more important, but because we would we would go by the criteria for each category, as opposed to the public who may vote for somebody because they're good, but they're also your friend, they're your relative, they're your worker, So we, at all times, even through the nomination, sifting through the nominations, we had to bear that in mind. Let's go back to the category. What has he done? What is the impact on the community? What is the impact on the people, the country as a whole? The image of the country, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that is what has guided us and will guide us right through to the final.
To add to what my colleagues have just said, we had a few like that, and there were no brainers. If it was political, if it was just hype on one person nominating the same person 10 times, we could see through that easily. I think maybe a little part of it that we were a bit unhappy with was maybe more people could have been nominated who are out there, but we didn't have the power to bring on board somebody's name by ourselves. That would have been unfair of us. We wanted the public, the country. And just sitting through, particularly that day, I must say I was totally impressed with what a lot of us as Gambians are doing. In that youth category, we had like 400 nominations, and that was tough to see. So we had to go again by the criteria. What has this person done? Because, you know, somebody can be a philanthropist, but it's not her money. It's not his money. So you're really not a philanthropist. You're like a conduit. Somebody's siphoning money through you. You're looking good, but it's not your money. And sometimes it could be your money, but it's not for Gambia's good. It's probably you're just a strict businessman or woman, you know, airbrushed as a philanthropist, but you are giving 10,000, but you're making 40 million. I don't think that's why we were invited. We wanted to find people out there doing phenomenal things. And I probably want to preempt myself by saying by the 2021 awards, when everybody would have woken up, it's going to be a tougher. And kudos to all Gambians in all these categories. It's phenomenal what people are doing selflessly, relentlessly, against all odds. And so we're looking forward to how it's going to end. And obviously in every race there's going to be one winner and runners-up, and we are trusting that those runners-up would work well. But there's really been no partisan, nepotistic or any kind thing. We've just looked right through it, and well, yes, she's done well. Yes, her name is known. Yes, his name is known, but maybe for another type of award. But for this Heroes Award, they do not fit in the box, and that's been it. So when, as Chair said, when you look at the names, you cannot but clap for those names. And if we did a tier 2, you'll also clap for the tier 2.
Yeah. Going back to why the public is involved, we, the 7 of us, could not possibly have come up with the kind of people that were nominated, because it needed people who were in the communities and villages and towns who know these people very well, whose work has perhaps impacted them, to come up with these names. So that was very, very necessary. The public nomination is absolutely necessary, and it takes care of bias, because we have ways of managing that. And so I just wanted to add that there as well. Awarded and recognized. Yeah.
An example of how we take care of this conflict of interest and bias, for example, if somebody, say, in the diaspora category comes up, and we begin looking at the information that the public has given us, if we know the person, we can state any information that we know, but when it comes down to us within ourselves, we vote to see, okay, should we write this person's name on the whiteboard to proceed? Mm-hmm. So in that process, if Pastor Forbes, for example, knows that individual, he is not able to vote in terms of whether that person can make it to the whiteboard. So that's kind of how we, as she explained, that's how we kind of vet that conflict of interest. We're not allowed to vote even in the slightest sense. We can say information, we can validate, okay, this is true, this may not be true, but we can't vote.
Yeah, and we're professional enough, really, because this is Gambia, everybody knows everybody, particularly the people we've shortlisted, we know them. But I think we are each known for being professionals. And that is how we work through this. Even if you know somebody, you see somebody more deserving, you give it to them. So we can be trusted on that, I think. Yeah.
Quickly, Chair. There's a particular name, for example, that was listed as Man of the Year. Of course, we can't mention the name now. And the justification was, his name is in the news every day.
And it ended there.
And that's how it ended. His name is in the news every day. We couldn't work with that, and I think another thing was that if we were going to vet every name that we didn't have information on, the awards will probably take place in October, because we'll have to be scouting, looking for. So we would have ended up doing the work of the person nominating somebody when every thing in the checklist was already marked for them to do. Yeah. So that we were not able to do, Chair.
Also, sorry, you want to go?
Oh, no, 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 please, after you.
Yes, and your question was, sorry, your question was how were we, what were we expecting? There's a column that says justification. Why do you think, why are you nominating this person? You'd be surprised that some people wrote essays.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Some people gave us enough information.
Oh, yeah.
Because we didn't know most of these people. Some people gave us enough information to appreciate this person and put them on the whiteboard. We had to put them on the whiteboard. Initially, we didn't come out with just the 4.
Yeah.
We had to almost fight to come down to the 4. We put some people on the whiteboard, sometimes 10, 11, and then we
Yeah.
whittled down to 4. So there's a justification bit where you would, and sometimes they'll say, oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
Like, more, give me more, I don't know him, give me more. And so if you didn't have that, you couldn't, I mean, how would you even begin to go and find out what is so great about this guy? So I think this is a learning curve for everybody, us and also the public, so that, as they say, my colleagues say, next year when we come, people nominating will give us the real reasons why they were nominating the people that they were. Yeah.
One nomination, a particular person, and then that one write an essay.
Mhm.
And how will you thoroughly search for that and know that it is candidate information?
Yes, most of the times that we had that, in particularly, we also had a column that says, can you refer us to where their work is? We had to go through their websites. We had to go through publications, Facebook,
yeah.
something to give us an idea of what they do, and you will always see something.
And at least
So-
one
so
or
that-
2 persons of the committee
Yes, yeah.
had some kind of information.
It made a lot of difference. It made a lot of difference, that other column that says, can you refer us to somewhere where we can learn more about this person?
How about people nominating themselves? Do you come across that?
Yes,
Someone
yeah.
nominating himself and then giving you whatever information that.
Yes.
We even had people nominate
We had
us.
people nominate. Yes, I'm proud to say I had a few. which of
Man
course
of
we
the
had
year.
To, we had to ignore. Yeah, woman of the year.
I mean, absolutely. If you feel, and just for next time coming around, if you feel as though you're doing amazing work and you want to showcase the work, you want to highlight the work that you're doing, give us the information. I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Assume that when nominations were open towards the 15th of next month, 14th of next month, it's somehow 2 or 3 months. Do you think such an award, that particular time frame, is it really sufficient for one to come up with a winner? Because in as much as you've said it, one may assume that the ones who were nominated are the ones are from people who are basically online. The information really filtered to local. Was nomination open, for instance, for one to submit in another form
Yes.
rather than really submitting either online also?
Absolutely. Would one of you like to?
Take that.
To maybe the locals not having the opportunity, we did broadcast it on the radio and locally as well too, that nominations are open here at the TFN, and we actually did have a few paper nominations. I failed to mention that on my part, but we did have a few paper nominations, and you could have come and just dropped your nomination off here. So we did actively advertise and broadcast that. Now, in terms of the time frame, we were hit with this speedball as well too. It was kind of a curve for us, which even more so made the process even more difficult because we spent a lot of time and a lot of hours. We gave more luxury actually to the public because there was a 2-week plus nomination period in which we were, actively advertising, nominate your hero, nominate your hero. I think 2 weeks is a sufficient amount of time, but maybe that could be up for debate later. Like we said, this is our first time at this particular rodeo. So for next time, we have a lot of lessons learned that we'll actually, put into the process. But
And the responses came.
I think yeah.
the responses came.
Responses came.
Yeah.
Yes, I in fact, there's one thing I have observed. The 2 weeks I think it was sufficient because all you had to do is be aware of it,
Yeah.
and then and vote. I know a lot of people who had been aware of it throughout the 2 weeks, but they didn't vote. So they say, okay, I was going to vote, but So I think next year, as we said, I think it'll be really interesting. I think many people will endeavor to take that 1 minute. It was a very simple form, very simple. You put in your name, your email, and then you go through the categories, you put the name of the person you wanted to nominate.
Help because as we were going through the list, you also had people in your mind, and by the time we finished the 1,500 plus, this person was in there, this person was in there, and we couldn't add somebody's name. So maybe it's best saying, or maybe re-emphasizing that if at the end or now that the shortlisted names are there, people are saying, but why is that man's name not there? Why is this woman's name? I know this man in environment. This woman died last year.
Yeah.
But we could not add those names because they were not nominated by people. And because of the size of our country, excuse me to say, if Pastor Forbes passed away last year, I'm sure quite a lot of people will know that. So that's something key for the public to know, because so people don't get up in arms that they eliminated somebody. Maybe the person's name was not even there in the first place because nobody nominated them.
If I may add, sorry, just to finish off your question, there's the nominating process and then there's the voting process. Now with the voting process of these people that we've already, the 4 in each category, that's slightly different because we have AFRICEL voting. So you're going to be made aware of each person and every single candidate, a brief bio of what they've done, the justification, so on and so forth. So you're going to be able to vote online like you were able to nominate online, but then also this opens it up to all the locals because you just AFRICEL SMS text your hero. So you can vote that way.
It's not open from you.
I think those modalities can be referred to the network. As far as the committee is concerned, is just about the nominations and the voting and how we handle that. Whatever arrangement has been done with the sponsors, I think we can, perhaps the network can answer that. We have not, yeah.
But I've written that question down and we will definitely get back to you on that.
Okay. You said the public will take, the normal voting from the public will be 40 somehow, and you the 7, you taking the responsibility of the 60. Why the 60, and what are some of the key criteria you will be really looking at when it comes to coming up with the actual individual for category?
Okay. Would anyone like to take this?
You want to go? I think I had delved into it a bit in the beginning. We have the criteria. There's a reason why the criteria was put there to be followed, so that we go through that and check. For our 60, we're focusing on the criteria entirely. For the public, they may be voting for different reasons. You've asked your question? Sorry. Yeah. For the public, they may be voting for different reasons. But for us, when it comes to decision making, we stick to the criteria. So at the end of the day, you can be assured that the winner, the person we choose, would be the person who best fits the criteria, period. We follow the criteria. I think you have it. If you go through we follow that for every category. And we did that to avoid what the previous question said, that, public voting, it can be discredited. People can vote many times, people vote for your relative for different reasons. But as I said, the public voting is also very important. Get everybody involved, because they may know more about these people than we do.
Are politicians part of the ones who are already shortlisted?
I don't believe we have any politicians as part, but we weren't looking for politicians. Okay. We were looking for the people that best fit the criteria to go through to the nominations. And I will tell you that some people, I think Vatu referred to that, some people were voted were nominated because they were nominated, they're famous. They had many nominations, but they were famous. So we had to look through the criteria. With all that fame, it shouldn't go against them, but what have they done in the past year, in 2019, that has great positive impact on the lives of communities and the people of the Gambia.
Absolutely.
That's all.
So voting, in as much as the event is on the 14th, when voting opening and when is it ending?
The
Well,
mic's
dates-
already here.
Yeah, the mic's already here. It begins on the on Monday, the 24th,
Yeah.
and ends on the 8th, I believe, 8th of March.
Yeah.
And then between 8th of March and the 14th, we will do our deliberations and come up with the hero for each category, and that they will be unveiled at the awards night. But we will. I think we did say that for each of the 4, we will now focus on them. We've contacted them. And for anyone who hasn't been contacted, please contact Fatu Network by email so that we could get a bio from them, and there could even be a film, of following them, see what they do, so that the public would appreciate what they do, and that will be showed at the night before the winner is announced. Yeah.
Let me ask one question. The awards, what we were made to understand was it was going to be strictly based on work that someone has done in a particular year. But we have seen some names like Solo something who died way back in 2016. So how did you manage this? How did you come up with that?
It was when we were discussing, because we came up with the categories, we came up with the criteria. And it was decided by the awards committee that for the posthumous award, just like you have in many different countries, it doesn't have to be restricted to a particular year. 'Cause there could be a year when nobody deserving dies, and then what do you do with it? And there's so many other people who are more deserving. And either of the other 2 could have died 5 years ago. But in this category, surprise, what happened was that we couldn't even get a 4th one. All the other nominees, about 30-something, it's amazing. I don't know how that happened. All the other nominees for this category are alive. They're alive. So we couldn't understand how that happened. So the only 3 that we got are the 3 that we have. But before that, we had already decided to open this particular category and only this category. Does that answer you?
Yeah.
With the idea of adding 1 more to make it 4. But then we remembered our mandate that we couldn't nominate.
Yeah.
There are many deserving people who passed on who could have been part of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And just if I may add, this category was slightly a bit more flexible with the dates. Because as well, this is the first time that the awards was happening, so we kind of wanted to just open up the window just a bit more, be a little bit less strict on the time frame for the posthumous awards.
But just that one.
Just that one.
Yeah.
Just that category.
Exhausted your questions?
Any more questions for us? But thank you very much for everyone who nominated and helped us through this process and gave us sufficient information that we could work through. Just to remind you that the voting period for your 4 heroes reopen on the 24th, February, Monday, February 24th, and they close on the 8th of March. There'd be 2 ways that you can do this. There's the AfriCell SMS text, which we will follow up with much more information on that and how it can be carried out. And then also another web link in which you can go online and vote for your Gambian hero.
It's tfnheroes.com.
TFN?
TFN.
FatuNetworkHeroes.com. You could go to that website and appraise yourself with what's happening. You can also follow the Fatu Network's Facebook page.
And
Yes.
please, we urge everybody to go out there and vote. Really, we urge the public to go and vote. Even if you haven't nominated anybody, take a look at the categories, take a look at the 4, and anyone tickles your fancy, you vote for them, please.
I suppose you can
We
only
want it
vote
to be-
once.
Yes, you can only vote once. And we do have one, this might be an impossible task, a mission to ask you, but please vote based on the merit of the person rather merely than they're your best friend. If you want to tell your best friend you voted for them, but really go through the criteria and go through and vote for the person who is really deserving of the award, just as we will do.
Heroes do walk amongst us, everyday people doing extraordinary things. And now, the Fatu Network presents live at the Coco Ocean Resort and Spa on Saturday, 14th March 2020. For their devotion, their sacrifice, their innovation, their service, the first ever Heroes Awards, bringing together the biggest names of 2019, movers, shakers, leaders, shapers, making a difference one giant leap at a time. Our very own everyday heroes. The Heroes Awards, honoring